Hello and welcome to a very picturesque part of the other palace, which is where I'm working this week. I'm literally by the toilets. Glam, glam, glam. I missed a day yesterday of Made Myself and I because I've been working 12-hour days for the last 3 or 4 days and it's been pretty full on, heavy. And even when I wasn't on stage, I still had to be in the auditorium to just be there as soon as they needed me. So I haven't been able to film anything for the last couple of days, and for that I profusely apologise. Sorry, that's my top going down, boobs coming out. So yesterday's words were black and white, and I used to be really, I used to be a real stickler for things just being black and white, for something being good, bad, right, wrong, yes, no, black and white. I just didn't like when things were grey. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I didn't like it, which meant I sort of lived unhappily for quite a long time because I didn't like not having answers and not having closure and not being able to make clear decisions. And I mean, I'm only 26, I'm still very young in the grand scheme of things, but it's amazing just what a few years teaches you. And I've just learned that there's so much colour in the grey, if that makes any sense. When you live trying to fit everything into boxes, when you live trying to find a clear line between right and wrong, yes and no, good and bad, black and white, you miss all of the amazing colours in between. And I've come to really love all of the things that are in the grey. And I think most of the world's greatest stories and greatest heroes and heroines all live very much in that grey area. Good people make bad decisions, bad people do good things, and I think that's what makes characters so interesting. Like Valjean and Javert are two, I think, of the best, greyest characters there are. He stole a loaf of bread, which we know to be bad, but he stole it to feed his sister's starving child, so that's a massive sort of grey area in of itself. And I think Javert's one of these people who loves black and white. You know, you do a bad thing, you are a bad person, and that's the black and white of the world, and that's how everyone should live their lives. And Valjean is very much more about the grey areas and finding forgiveness for the good people who do bad things. I am fascinated, if you couldn't tell, about grey areas. And just the older I've got, naturally the more I've learned, stupid thing to say, I feel like it was such a big lesson that I had to learn for someone who was so strict on what's black and white and what's good and bad, and oh, I just made a mistake, does that make me a terrible person? You know, I used to really have this inward dilemma with myself, because if I ever made a mistake or did something bad or realised I did something bad in hindsight, I was convinced that I was just a terrible person and that there was nothing I could do that would redeem myself. And sometimes I do have to be careful still when I feel like someone has wronged me or hurt me or upset me, that doesn't make them a fundamentally bad person. I have every right to be upset with them and to cut them out and to not want to spend time around them, but they are someone that still needs to just get on with their lives and live their lives, and they still have a right to be as happy as they can be and want to be. And vice versa, when, you know, there are people out there who hate me, who think I'm like the worst person on the planet, people who have met me and haven't met me. You know, there's always going to be people who don't like you based on whatever their judgments are. And I have to remember that just because someone doesn't like me, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm a bad person. They have every right not to like me and cut me out of their lives and not want to spend time with me. But again, that doesn't make me a fundamentally disastrous human being. It just makes me human. It's the same, it makes everyone else human. But that is that weird little grey area that we find ourselves in more often than we find ourselves in the black and in the white. Like, the most of us live our lives in a grey area because there isn't a lot that is so clear that it's one thing or the other. Sometimes it's a little bit of one and a little bit of the other. It lives in that, if you've got like a Venn diagram, it lives in like that little tiny bit in the middle. I think life is more interesting in the grey areas. And I think sometimes we just have to make our peace with grey areas, because sometimes we're not going to get that closure and we're not going to have those answers. Sometimes you're just going to get a shrug from the universe, and that's fine. I will see you tomorrow. Sorry I missed a day.